Hey everybody, hello. Secondhand Dan coming to you again from Homosassa, Florida land. This is kind of like a video I wasn't expecting to make. If you've seen my previous videos on the Lexus RX350 with the bonk noise, well, I guess we can add a part 3. The bonk is back. Earlier, I discovered a missing bolt and I replaced it, and the bonk definitely seemed to have gone away. Well, it's come back, so I don't know why, but I have a theory from watching other videos what is the cause of the noise. This is the RX350. It's a good car. Bought it here in Florida, drove it back to Pittsburgh. There was some issues, but we made it back to Pittsburgh, had the issues taken care of, and we drove it back to Florida. But since then, we've been the bonk noise. So I bought some parts for it. Stopped at the auto parts, and I bought what's called sway bar links. Now these are a CarQuest product. They had two choices at the auto parts store. One was $10 cheaper, but I said, usually, I just go by price. Often I want to save a few bucks, and I'll say, give me the cheaper. Sometimes if they have 3 grades, I'll say, let's just go in the middle. But this time I said, tell you what, bring both parts out to the counter, the lesser and the greater, and let me compare them. So they did that, and I took one out of each box and compared them. And of course, one thing was, obvious. This had a blue boot, the other had black boots on it, and I think their boots were a little smaller. I thought, well, is that enough reason to buy the $10 more one? But then I compared it this way, and I saw that this bearing surface, this cap, was smaller on the other one. So I figured, well, this has probably got a bigger bearing surface in it. So I said, for $10 more a piece, that's 20 bucks, It should last me for 100,000 miles. So I bought a pair of these. They're the same whether you put for the left and for the right side on the car, so there's not a different part number. Reason I haven't torn the bag open yet and shown it to you is I want to actually get the car up in the air and do a thorough investigation with the wheel off and make sure that this is what the problem is. So I know in one of my earlier videos on this, I did not have proper socketage. I used the tire iron. Well, I bought these at the auto parts store. Oh, upside down. Die Hard. So I figured I was going to roll down to the Harbor Freight. I think they had a similar set. Theirs was like $10 more, but I figured it was probably another 45 minutes and traveling down there and back again. And I said, let's just snag these here. I liked what I saw. So for 40 bucks, I got this set of 1/2-inch drive metric sockets. They go all the way up to 24 millimeter. By the way, it's a beautiful day here. It's Monday, January 6th, day after my grandson's birthday. So shout out to you, Owen. Happy birthday, my grandson. I actually called him on they called us on the phone, so I was able to say it then there on the day. But for posterity's sake, if he sees this sees this video in the future, he'll see his papa saying happy birthday. So the car, again, is a 2008 Lexus RX350. Back in Pittsburgh, I have, sitting in my parking lot, an RX330, a 2004. And we drove that until the wheels practically fell off. But it's still going, but this is definitely a lot nicer than that. This don't have any of the rust on it, the dings, the dents, and this has the backup camera on it. My 2004 doesn't. This is the 350, which means the engine in the other one, the 330, is that's basically designates the engine size. So 3.3 liter, this one being a 3.5 liter. And you have to beware with the 3.3 liter, it has what's known as a timing belt. And if that timing belt ever breaks while the motor's in motion, the pistons could smack the valves. On this is a timing chain, so that's less likely to ever happen. Not that it isn't possible. It's just definitely, it's a better motor than the other one. But the other one right now has got like 180,000 miles on it. And I had the last guy that did his state inspection on it. I said, give my belt a good eyeball and make sure that it's not ready to break. And he said, belt looks okay so far. I've actually had cars in the past. I've had Pintos. And, I think it was like a 72 Pinto. I actually had several about that era. I would buy them in old ones and keep using parts off of them. So I kept driving Pintos for about 10 years, but it had a 2-liter engine in it, and it had a timing belt in it. And I was unknowing at that time, and I think one of them finally did snap, and the piston did smack the valves and cracked the cylinder wall. But I had parts Pintos at home, so I was able to just go back and swap the motors out. Anyway, you can see I got 2 of these. I'm going to jack the car up, pull the wheel off this time. My previous video, I didn't pull the wheel off because I found the missing bolt just by crawling underneath. And like I said, I replaced that bolt, and the noise went away. But here it is, like maybe 2 weeks later, the noise has come back, especially when you're backing up and you spike the brake, ka-donk. Whenever if you hit the accelerator quickly at a red light, donk. So I suspect it's the sway bar links up front. And by the way, I have a slight noise in the back too, but it's more of a rattle. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was one of these. They're only about half the size on the rear, but again, if they're wearing out, that could be what the rattling noise is. But that's for another time, another video. So that rattle doesn't seem as detrimental. I mean, this actually startles you when you hit the brakes and you hear that bonk, and you pull out bonk. So let me get the floor jack. It's quite breezy today. The temperature's probably about 65 or going up to like 70, but there's definitely a breeze going through here. The forecast says like 100% chance of rain around 3 o'clock this afternoon. So, but I'm feeling very comfortable in this weather. Sunshine, breeze, it's a good thing. Got the floor jack, had to go down to the workshop shed and snag this beauty here. This is a 1.5 ton Pittsburgh, so it's probably a Harbor Freight dealio. Not very well suited for the sand here. I don't have any concrete. I don't even have hard crushed gravel where I'm working on this car. It's basically 3 feet of sand, compacted is what my property seems to be made out of. I've dug down a couple times with a shovel for various reasons, and sand, like Star Wars. I hate sand. It gets into everything. But I love sand and the fact that it means I'm in a great climate. The weather is good and it's workable. It's workable, but the jack tends to want to press down into it so you don't get the full height from the floor jack as it pushes down into the sand. I think they make some with bigger tires on. I don't know if that would be any better, but as often as I need a floor jack right now, unless I see one for a few bucks at a yard sale, I don't plan on swapping out my floor jack anytime soon. Now, I have my lapel microphone on, and I made a little windsock for it, so I'm not sure how efficient that'll be. I've seen other YouTubers that will have like a ball of fuzz on their microphone. I think a lot of them come with that additional piece. This is only like a $20 microphone, and so far it's been good to me. So I hope the makeshift wind socks I put on here, we actually cut the finger off a cotton glove and put it over top. So it's already fallen off once, so I've made another effort this time to loop it underneath the clip. So, but that made it a little more taut over the microphone. I would have preferred it to be a little more bunchy over it, but anyway, I got to get in this car and straighten the wheel out. Got my keys, usually keep them hung on my belt here with the carabiner. So let's straighten the wheels out first thing. I need to get some kind of food in me. For breakfast I had coffee and what was that? A couple Fig Newtons. They're wheat Fig Newtons. I didn't know I was buying wheat Fig Newtons when I bought them. That's the problem. These companies keep repackaging stuff, and you don't know if you're accidentally buying unsalted or whole grain or wheat. But so I had a couple of those, and I had one pecan roll. You know. So my stomach's starting to rumbling. That was hours ago. So I may be taking a brunch break here. All right, I'm going to approach this from the front. Last time I put the jack up under the subframe, but this time I know that I'm taking the wheel off for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and go under the lower control arm, and I'm going to approach it from the front of the vehicle as I drag my jack through the sand and pull up a pile of pine needles. Gotta get down on my hands and knees now. Okay. You hate to lay down because you're usually gonna get covered with what's called sand spurs. All right, I think I found the subframe as it comes up to the front of the vehicle. All right, don't want to take it but that high until I break all the lug nuts loose. Chance to get the new socket set working on it. I am keeping my eye open for a set of DeWalt 20 volt tools. I have DeWalt 20 volt tools back home in Pittsburgh, but down here I have what's known as the DeWalt 18 volts. And for what I paid for them, I bought them at random places, you know, grouped some together, and they've been doing a decent job. But the 20 volts are so much better. I think I'd like to switch it up. I may just sell all my 18 volts to somebody else. So this is my die-hard socket set. Now when I first grabbed these, I know they're die-hard, but when I first grabbed them, my psyche said Craftsman, because die-hard is Sears and Craftsman is Sears, and who ever heard of die-hard tools? But so I'm like, oh, now I'm actually looking at them, they're die-hard. But I think it's a nice looking socket set. 40 bucks. I think they're going to be around for a while. So I'm suspecting, is it 21 inch on this? 21 millimeter? Yes, I remembered correctly. Okay, I'm going to need to get the breaker bar, and I also need to get the lug nut key for the one lug nut has a specialty on it. Woo, the breeze is kicking. Here's my wheel lock. I mean, how many of y'all can say you still have your wheel lock in its original factory bag with the directions and code number, and tells me that the previous owner took good care of their vehicle? But you never know where to leave these wheel locks. Do you leave them in the back there with the spare? Do you leave them up front in the glove box? Or do you leave them inside the console, inside the door? You hate to lose these things because it is inconvenient. All right, well, I have to go get the breaker bar. You want to go with me down to the shed and get the breaker bar? All right, yeah, sure, come along. It's a blustery day. All right. Yeah, them leaves going. Woo! Does that mean a cold front's coming in? If you haven't checked out my video on heavy metal, you need to do that. And please, while you're at it, like and subscribe. Turn a light on. All right, breaker bar and a ratchet and a stanchion. All right, let's see how far these three tools get us. Oh, I see a wire brush there. That's good to have in case the studs where the nut has to come off have some rust on them. You brush them, makes the nut come off a lot easier. Oh, I probably should brush some PB Blaster or WD-440, WD-50, whatever, one of those. And I probably should lay down a placemat so I'm not dropping my tools in the sand. Let's see if I can find something for that. There's my placemat, a 4-inch chunk of foam, I guess a couch cushion. So that's better than just throwing them directly on the ground. You don't want to get sand in your tools. It affects their, especially ratchets and such things. They get down inside the interior of them and cause them to malfunction. Okay, we'll start first by releasing the locking lug nut. Because if you don't get the locking lug nut off, you ain't going to get them all off. That's the same size as a lug nut, 21 millimeter. Okay. I want to break free. I'm going to have to change this jacket because with the sun, it's black and the sun beating on it, it's definitely making me feel a little warmer than I need to be. Alrighty then, all the lug nuts are broken free. Set it back on my placemat and jacking it up. You listen for any loud creak that says the jack's slipping off. If you don't hear any, keep going. Okay, I see the wheel starting to shift, like it's coming off the ground. Yeah, we are off the ground. Okay, just a matter of spinning all these lug nuts off. That's something, I can see a coating of rust on my rotor, and I guess that's like that morning sickness rust, because we drive this thing on a regular basis, but you know, something sits for 12 hours, it can start to get a film of rust on it, especially when it's, you know, naked cast iron. Nothing to ever really worry about, but you may notice it when you first start pulling out. It may sound like your brake pads are worn out. You get a grinding noise sometimes when you have that surface rust on. Another thing, these rims are in good condition. The one back at home are rims between, you know, curb rash from, it's like I said, 2004. That's 20 years, but they're like 18 years of curb rash and corrosion on them. I was able to buy another set of wheels, what's known as takeoffs, because somebody buys a new vehicle and they decide they want to upgrade their wheels. But I bought some takeoffs from a Toyota, and they're the same size and the same bolt pattern, and the Lexus emblem in the middle, I was able to just snap it into the middle of the Toyota rim. Oh, didn't take off the locking lug nut yet. There it goes. Alrighty. I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I'm seeing what looks like a relatively new, at least to me, a relatively new looking link pin. Let me get you in close so you can see. Oh, this is your sway bar link right here. And you can see how it has a golden hue to it. That's the anodized, whatever, when they make them. That's not necessarily naked steel, it's close to it, but it's anodized with something. Look at this thing hanging on there. So I am going to have to investigate. Not to say it's absolutely 100% these are not malfunctioning, but I'll get a pry bar under there and bop it up and down a couple of times and see if I hear any clunking noise when I do that. Alright, well, I have this car sitting up on a floor jack, and I don't have a jack stand under it yet, so let's do that. And a shortcut, if you don't have the jack stands at all, is just go ahead and slide your tire under. So at least that'll be a zone where you know it won't go 100% down to the ground. But you still want to get some jack stands. So let me go get one. Alright, well, here's my jack stand, a Duralast. Now, jack stands are something, when I go to yard sales, garage sales, estate sales, and auctions, they are plentiful out there. So a lot of times you get them $5, $10 a set, especially if people are just trying to get the heck out of Dodge, they're moving out. Auctions are usually about the cheapest. They go begging for a bid a lot of times. So there's no reason why you shouldn't have some jack stands. Now, there's all probability I'm not going to drop the car on myself, but think of jack stands as life insurance, limb insurance. So problem is often is getting it to a height where the jack stand actually fits under something that's going to cradle it. Okay, I've got a pry bar here, and it's going under the sway bar, the anti-sway bar link, which are attached to the link pins. And so if I pump up and down on it, I'm not hearing any clunky noise. So the buying the sway bar links while I was at the auto parts store was just my way of saying, well, maybe I'll save a trip. And in case that's what it is, I won't have to make a separate trip just for the part, but I might be going back there yet for the proper part. But still, I haven't detected which part is giving me the clunky noise. The bushing there looks good. And it goes up to a bushing that's in here. So I'm questioning that one in my mind until, let's see if I can get a bar under there and somehow wiggle and jiggle and see if I reproduce the clunk noise there. Well, right now with my pry bar in various places, I've done it under the rotor, I've done it with the tie rod ends, I've done it with the link pins, and even over here on the motor mount. I have not produced the actual clunk noise, although it's probably very difficult to reproduce it in actuality, what it really would sound like while driving, because you're talking about hundreds, 1,000 pounds making that clunk noise versus me in a lever. But still wondering if it could be a link pin, because it does seem to spin a little easily. So I thought maybe I'd go ahead and probably change them anyway. But before I do that, maybe I just go to the other side and investigate. This one looks like the boot is kind of torn open. So yeah, let's go ahead and replace them. Okay, I'm going to replace it. If it doesn't serve the solve the clunking noise, it does look like this is something typically they would recommend for replacement anyway, with that amount of play in the torn boot. So maybe it's just deceiving me with that golden hue, because this is a Florida vehicle. It's been a Florida vehicle all its life, so it's not like back in Pittsburgh where everything gets blistery with a rust coating. The finishes tend to survive a little longer down here. So even if they were replaced, it could have been, 50, 60,000 miles ago. So I'm going to go ahead and replace them. All right, to remove and replace one of these link pins, of course it's obvious the nut, but also there is a Allen-sized hole in here. So that's to keep this shaft from spinning while you take the nut off. So I'm going to have to go get some Allen wrenches. All right, got a couple more useful tools. WD-40 to make that bolt spin easier. Some Allen wrenches. I hope the right size is amongst this cluster. I know these are marked standard size. They're not marked metric, but sometimes they're very close. That one is close. Depends on how much struggle that bolt gives you coming off. Well, let me test these others in my free hand. They're not marked. This one does not fit. This one is too loose, so like what that's at. The only other hope is this one here. All right, well, I guess I'm going to have to go with the non-metric. Put it in and pull it out a couple times, see if we can make sure you get the dirt out of there. So it goes into the maximum depth. Gonna hit it with a wire brush. The threads look pretty good, but it's only gonna help, even if it's a minute amount, to run the wire brush over it. A little shot of WD right up against the nut. Oh. And let's go get the proper size socket. I think I left them on the tailgate of my pickup truck over here. Die hard. If you're gonna die, you may as well die hard. Huh? Want to die hard? I really like this box. It helps keep them organized. I like it when it's easy to spot whether or not you're missing a socket, so then you know to start looking for it. 18 maybe? Oh, 17. Okay, 17. Get the breaker bar. And the stench in there, and this wind is blowing. I need a better breaker bar, but until I come across one. This one is missing the ball to make your sockets clip on and so they don't drop off, but it's still a usable tool. It's just not as convenient. Well, might have to push down rather than push up. Get a little more leverage, use my body weight. All right, well, after it blowing over and landing in the sand, I think my remote microphone adapter is kaput. Bent the insert on it, and the blue light doesn't light up anymore. That is disappointing. It's not the first time it blew over. Well, it's the first time it blew over. It's not the first time the phone fell with the microphone in the bottom of it and it got bent. But I guess the second time has wiped it out, because when I insert it, the blue light doesn't come on anymore. Well, it looks like my microphone is dead. I've tried several times plugging it in. This part plugs into the phone. That prong got bent. I straightened it out. You can see this is blinking because it can't detect this receiver, and when I put the receiver in, nothing happens. It usually lights up a blue light, and then I squeeze the button on here until it's a blinking blue light, and I squeeze the button on here until the blue lights are steady. Well, I barely got a year out of this thing. I think I only paid 20 bucks for it. It was good while it lasted. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's had issues with drop phones with things plugged into the connector getting bent. It's happened with me on other devices, but such is life. All right, well, I guess we're going non-remote microphone. We'll have to just rely on the phone for the mic. All right, well, I'm just about done with this video anyway, so stay tuned. All right, well, time for a little update. I'm working on the driver's side. It came off without a hitch. The wind has been crazy. You can see it took my hat off. It is starting to get a little darker. So it is, I think, what, 2 o'clock about now? I think they said 100% chance of rain around 3. So I'm sure I'll have this sway bar link on long before that if I don't mess around. So let me show you what I did find, an update on the old part. It's quite easily to move these things back and forth compared to a new one, and it looks like it's awfully greasy. Like, did it squish all the grease out? There's a piece of grease also that fell off from around the boot. So did these sway bar links squeeze all their grease up, causing them to make the noise? Look at the amount of grease around that one. Like I said, even though they didn't look abused when you look at the exterior of the metal on it, I'm not sure how I could tell if these are original equipment or not. They could be, but I say, cosmetically they seem to be in decent shape, but as far as grease coming out, that's not a good thing. So let's see if it quiets down the bonk when I put the new one on. Right now I'm afraid to put my phone back into the tripod for fear it'll blow over again, but so I'll have to do things in steps here holding it. You can see there's a piece of paper inside the bag here. There was one in the other one as well. My theory is that piece of paper is some kind of moisture absorbing thing, like the little packets that used to say do not eat. They used to put those in there, so I think that's the purpose of that paper. Of course, this side's going a lot faster because I already made my mind up that I'm replacing the part, and I already have all the tools out. Plus, I've done the job once already, so it's always easier when you're doing it again. So let me fire this in there. I thought I'd show you this one thing I've noticed while installing these. So beautiful looking hardware goes on that stud there. Okay, look, I'm spinning it with my fingers, and then it gets so far and stops. And it was on all 4 of them, so now it requires a ratchet. So what's your opinion? See how it, I mean, there's definitely still a long way to go, a 1/4 inch or so, but it's not finger loose anymore. Is that because they purposely designed it to be snugger when it gets further down there on the threads, or was it just a case of inferior machine work? What are your thoughts? I'm hoping and I'm believing that maybe it was purposely designed that way as kind of like an anti, or not, a lock, like a thread lock type thing. So let me tighten the bottom one up. Okay, that snugness of the nut on the threads has become a small issue. Now it's spinning the whole stud, which means I'll have to go ahead and use a wrench and put the an Allen wrench in there and a standard wrench on the outside. But that's what's occurring on the bottom. All the other 3, even though it started getting snugger as it went down on the threads, they managed to land before before the studs actually started spinning. So now I have to go get me a wrench. Now I'm going to take this sway bar link off and invert it, because there's no upside down or right side up on it. It works either way, and because the stud is spinning on this, I think I'll be able to control it a little better up here, because this one likes to land. So, and that's like in the blind spot there, so if I flip it over, it might be to my benefit. Okay, I have flipped it over and gone ahead and installed the bottom nut, and it went on and it is seated. So Now this one, when it was on the bottom, gave me trouble. The little stud started spinning, so let's see if I can work it up here. Okay, now I've tightened this as far as I could go with the ratchet, and the stud is spinning again. So I have moved the problem from the bottom to the top, but like I say, now it's in my face. It might be a little easier to work with. So I got to use the Allen wrench and a box wrench. All right, well, I actually got it to seat. Before getting the Allen into it, it did spin for a moment. With the box wrench, I just grabbed the back and caused it to cock inside the hole here. Figured that's going to some tension on that stud, and it was enough that I was able to get the nut to seat. So this job's basically done. I got to put some extra oomph on them with the socket and the breaker bar, put the things back together, and go for a test drive. Okay, everybody, good news. The noise is gone. After replacing those two sway bar links, I took it for a test drive, spiked the brakes a couple of times, stomped the accelerator a couple of times, and no noise. So no noise is good news. I know there said no noise in the second video, and it was true. For whatever reason, replacing the bolt that was totally missing and tightening down the other bolt, it seemed to have quieted it for about a week, but then it came back with a vengeance. I swapped out these sway bar links. Like I said, there was nothing blatantly obvious wrong with them. Once you took them off, there seemed to be, you know, a fair amount of play, and we did see grease that looked like it had been squished out over the years, so I believe that was the culprit. So I do detect a slight rattling noise in the back of the car now, so I wonder if it's the rear sway bar links. So maybe I'll go ahead and replace those. They're probably a lesser price because I'm pretty sure they're shorter. The gauge of the shaft might even be smaller. I don't know. Well, I'll find out. So thanks for sticking with me through these videos. It looks like it's getting to rain here. Oh. The wind has been blowing all day. It's gotten darker. I said I apologize. It blew my tripod over and broke my microphone receiver, so I've been just doing whatever the phone can catch on its microphone, but yeah, you can probably hear the wind. And it definitely feels like a cool breeze. Watch my other videos. It's time for a cool change before they take it down. I think I got some copyright problems. I recorded a live band and I didn't think about, well, it's not the radio, but I recorded for about 10 minutes and posted that video, and I see already it says copyright infringement. So, well, thanks for sticking with me. This is Secondhand Dan signing off.